see that it's the way they need to structure that option. So they'll pay taxes, but they won't pay you know, that I didn't route anybody last week, did I? No.
I did not. Did I do that?
It's just the pigs and whatnot. They'll pay taxes for that based on the tax on the threshold and how they say in terms of accounting to report that that's all the finances business. Tax again and stuff, and they really keep their money in shipping and all that. That's totally at least these people are paying something. What's up? They from the ones paying the shit on it's totally my son we should have this book. But some of the stuff I know from basic it's skeptical. And some of the stuff you have to research to understand the things that I was reading. Depends on the town. Come with this and yeah. I see it, but that I know it's my aunt. Some of my friends said that because two papers. Papers are like 3,000 words long. It's like a case study of two papers. Yeah, but when you finish it, you have to upload it to the university in London, and then the final time you start here. But they didn't. What do you know? That's a thing. I sure I'm sure I said where it goes.
Yeah, it's the law. Yeah.
This is over there. Yeah, I don't think, this is closed. Yeah.
And that's like, so now if you use,
something is in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Essentially, better take I don't know what portion of. I have to find out what's the great portion from the papers as opposed to weight.
They may make you feel as though.
Yeah.
And sometimes.
So they wouldn't say 50-50.
And every other country is going to sue, right?
I think it may be. I'm not too sure. I think it is too sure.
They will come out and say, but like maybe so to make you feel like.
He didn't go into it. That's only the intro. He just rushed it, you know. I can find out information.
You want to say it's transparent, but then
it's racist. All right, that's my right. Just because we're going to start today to find out who did homework.
And I'm offended by it.
Let's go. Why are people changing seats?
So you know what's going to see the beat switch back?
Huh?
She said, why they changing seats?
Oh, no. Everyone just started anyway.
What's your grandson?
You can use the previous arrangement.
Yeah, here or
And
there.
dress code policies.
Okay, what's your grandson?
To do with hair. When you have dress code policies that are against natural hairstyles, or to make you feel as though you should have to curl your hair, or wear a wig, or wear a weave.
be accepted.
But your hair's natural.
Yeah, and so they wouldn't say anything to me about my hair, but because my hair is
Because naturally it's
good
good.
hair.
You won't feel told.
Really?
Good hair.
That's in the policy?
Not in the policy, but it's like an underlying.
Yeah, they'll make me like little
It
slick
make you
remarks. So what are you going to do with your hair?
Oh.
What are you going to do with your hair? Like, I don't know what's going on with your hair.
But I guess it depends on your employer. If your employer or client have care. They don't like that. No, they don't like that either.
That's not just natural hair.
Yeah, they want your natural hair. Yeah. But don't forget that is her establishment, you know.
And I never think it's racist.
We're just
It's racist. Must be. And then
Yesterday,
So who read the papers yesterday?
then reading all this stuff.
Yes. Who read the papers yesterday?
Almost one hour.
Oh, it's good. I didn't get a chance.
What? Wait till I get the register. You just have to see you.
I didn't.
I see you put on your little Facebook. Very good.
Report.
I can see just how busy. Bring your papers. Oh, okay. Bring your papers. Oh, they're right there. Okay, let me get the register.
What the ones you gave us last week? Oh, I have some. I have some there.
Beneficiary thing? It's a tax form.
Some of them make the other one.
It's just saying that you got some of that beneficiary. When you come in here and goes from the ain't no one over there get you back from the that's really tax form. I don't know. That's how it was. One of the last thing I guys.
I'm laying down watching the Sesame Show.
If you see something, like how to deal with it, and she actually wanted like different envelopes and like what to put in there and how she'll handle it. And then we should come back.
Oh, that's good.
And then like we have bonds and stuff like that. And then I put the left hands on it.
Okay.
And she has
So,
Somebody understanding, yeah.
yeah, she wanted us to tell
Stacey
that
came
when you
here,
come in
like
from
a few months
police
ago.
and so we had to show everything, like profiling and stuff like that. And all that just sat there, and we had to like profile to see whether there's families and right?
Okay.
And when he came with a bulk of money stashed over him.
Oh, he was really
And then he had with some stuff like in his mind.
Uh-huh.
So we had to determine whether this money was good, when he was like us.
Because they
We had to determine whether the stuff in his mind, no, we had to find the money on him. And we had to determine if the stuff was in his mind. If there was something that like children should bring. Because like, the children said, he bring his mind. And he said, he the one that had to try. But he had these things set up.
Oh,
And one
yeah.
time that we in, he
Yeah,
came to
he
the
comes to make the hair, and he don't need to, he don't need to waste time trying to find it, so he does that in a long time.
Right, and then like, and we questioned him, we had a chance to like question him, and he wasn't even prepared.
You ready?
Then he said,
No more here.
Okay. That's the kind of live on the street thing.
All right. I'm gonna write this so I can call on the name. Who's new? I know that. Why your hand will be on. Those who did intro, that's you. You're the only one here from intro, right? From last class. Me? My class, yeah.
No. Renee.
I mean, who took the exam?
Three of us. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I dropped the results off and
I write to it.
What I mean?
That means that we're going to try to remove it Saturday. I know, right?
Why would I be ruining it?
Because that exam,
I wrote it.
right? You
I
didn't
figured
teach us
that.
but you didn't teach us.
For the whole
If we had
intro.
yeah. So maybe if we had you.
You did too. With the first lecture.
What about that too? We discussed
Well,
that.
I don't know.
We discussed that.
Yeah, I know we did.
In that thing, also other input.
Thompson?
Yes.
Talk with them later. Talk with them later.
You all right? Okay. You okay?
Can we have it?
You have to be cross-marked.
Can they come up with feedback?
Can we get a seat?
Yes, let's walk up.
They wanna feel more.
Yes,
Okay.
They're anxious.
We just see the number.
Yeah.
But they have to be cross-marked.
That's
Yes.
fine.
Okay. So when we cross-mark, it's the number don't die.
I know class.
Okay? Come.
Yeah, so that's yeah.
Very, very good. And you really wanted it to last.
West.
Sorry.
Who's that? She's not here.
No.
That's you.
Brenda.
Yes, that.
I'm greedy enough. I'm
You have to do better next time. Don't give me halfway stuff.
But don't give us no halfway lecture.
That was good. No, but
A lot of people answered the questions based upon what I taught.
and I was
And
okay with
those
the
that
classes
did
you
it,
taught.
did well.
I feel like I missed that class because I had to work.
Yeah, but you did well.
Because I read, the good thing about it is I read through the book and I Googled some stuff that was like on Central Bank website. And
Yeah, but that's why I
That's
sent
what I have
them.
to do too.
because
the book was-
otherwise,
Now, don't forget, now when you answer an exam question, it's not just dumping what you know. You must answer the question.
Okay.
And in most instances, the questions were answered vaguely. Oh, yeah, they were answered vaguely. You actually have to answer the question.
and see, I think what I like with me, we never really got. I mean, I know that's not an excuse, but we never really got a concrete idea of what exactly. So like, I was under, at one point, I was under the impression that the entire thing was multiple choice. Then I thought it was going to be
Short
short
Answers,
answers.
and then you
And 2
came and like
hours.
said essay questions.
So I didn't even know we were having essay questions until I came to take the exam. Because I had banked on short answer questions.
And that's why when I said I was being funny when I said like one line something. Like, oh, no.
One line?
Yeah, like short answers, like a sentence or two.
Or sentences.
Well, some
yeah.
people did do that. They gave me 2 sentences.
Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
no, but I didn't know it was gonna be like essay questions until I actually sat down to the exam.
So, like, let's say, number 4, a lot of people in this room discuss the importance of record keeping and its purpose. So some
That's
people went
something,
all over the
that's
bush.
something.
All kind of things. And if you were in class, those that were in class, you went straight to the central bank, you put it in a snapshot.
Yeah.
It gave you the legislation. It told you which documents to keep and why you were keeping it. So someone gave you like a whole page and a half and only could get 2 points. Because they didn't state what is the purpose of it. The purpose is attached to the legislation. That's why you keep the documentation. You see what I mean? So the key thing when I read your answer is you had to tell me it's a requirement by statute. That's the first thing. Then you have to state what the documents are. That's the second thing. And then the third thing you have to tell me is how long you're keeping it, and then the reason why you're keeping it. That's 4 things, and they were worth 10 points. So you got 2, 4, 6, 8, and the other 2 is how you set it up. Clear. You can't go here, go there, come back, then you're confused. So you either know the answer or you don't. So that's why you all who do the exam for this one. We just don't go all over the place and just drop things from all over the sky and say, that's it. No.
So see now we have a better understanding of who you are and what you're expecting.
Yeah.
Right.
Because what I don't want is for you to come out of here, like you'd have done intro, then you do intermediate. Then you may decide that you want to go and do the actual degree. You still won't have the foundation. When you get that big book big as this, you be trying to figure out, like, what's all of this? Where does this come from? But at least you'd already know. So that's why I've copied these from last week, because this material and more is what you need to do the actual diploma. So if you've already read some and understand it, it's easier for you to go through it.
I don't find it hard to understand, right? It's just a lot of information.
It is a lot.
It's a lot of information. It's not difficult.
No,
It's easy, it's understandable.
it's not difficult, it's understandable.
Right.
But when you do that actual exam, the external exam for London,
You have to apply it.
you have to apply it.
Okay.
And you have to know it. And you only have 3 hours. And you only have 4 questions. And most people only answer 3 questions. And people fail.
Wow.
So if you fail, you have to go another year?
No,
Before you take it?
depends on how low your grade is. You have to redo the exam. Or redo, you have 2 assignments and 1 exam.
I mean, when
And it
you
must
have the
be
chance to
written in
redo it.
English.
Okay.
No slang. Think of comma, full stop,
Queen thing.
quotation mark, everything. So in some of these I marked, they didn't take the points off, but I circled where there were grammatical errors, spelling errors, all of those are points. You could go to the London exam, you get like 20 points taken off.
Wow. I'll be ashamed if that's me.
And then I asked one of these to prepare. I said, what is it?
Yeah, I think about the slide.
Yes. And I did it on purpose.
What was it?
I asked you to prepare a slide.
Yeah,
I don't want an essay. I don't want a bullet point.
Oh,
I
that's
wanted
a
you to
slide,
draw a
yeah.
square and put it in it.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I didn't know.
I didn't take off any
That's
points because I
right.
said this is your first time. But follow instructions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Duly noted.
When someone asks you to explain or discuss something, that doesn't mean you give examples. You explain by law, or you explain what the FATF says, or you explain what a paper says, and then you can say, by example. The example is not the explanation.
Understand.
So, someone on one of these answers, they gave me plenty of examples, but they didn't answer the question. You have to answer the question and then give examples. So that person only got 2 out of 10.
You have to explain.
You have to explain what it is and then give the example. So I'm not being hard on you, but yeah, you have to know why you're doing what you're doing. And you already know some of this stuff by either what you do or what you hear. But the purpose of coming here is to now attach that to what the law requires. Okay? Good. So let me go to my register. That's those who did that. Don't breathe hard. Why?
when I left the exam,
Yes?
I went
Maybe she
straight to
could
the
show
liquor
us
store.
Oh, you find open the door and then close the door.
Exam I wrote on Thursday.
On Joe Farrington Road,
When I
right by
walked
me.
downstairs, they say, I said, how was the exam? They said the exam was good. That's all right. They said, no, we don't mean good like that. We mean the questions were there. Just like you said they will be there. Say, oh, God. That's the purpose of coming here.
Straight to the liquor store. Because I asked her,
I don't give grades.
I was like, how much do I need to pass? I was like, let me just pass. I just need to pass. That's all. Because, and then, well, it was to my detriment that I missed that last class. I think if I had actually came to the class, I would have been, felt a little bit more prepared. But I had to work, so I had to go. And so I just was, when I opened it, I was like, what is this? What is this? What is this?
But it was really only based on the material from intro. That's where I took it from.
And I think Mr. Higgins is very engaging, but a lot of what we did with him, it was kind of like anecdotal. So he
Did
would
you
throw
do an
out,
evaluation?
no,
No,
Like,
I'll
he
get
would
that in a
throw out
minute.
some points, like he would throw out, like in conversation, he may throw out one or two things that you needed to know, but like how you went through the actual laws with us.
Right,
and
we had most
in the last
examples.
class.
Yeah, and so I saw a lot of examples.
Right.
So like I say, the whole purpose of doing this is you can do intro and leave. You can do intro and intermediate and leave. But don't forget you gotta get certificates. And then after that, then you can actually go into the actual diploma. So to me, it doesn't really make any sense if I give you an exam with 10 questions and you put down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullet points and I give you 8. You haven't learned anything.
Right.
The whole purpose of you spending this money is to learn. So at the end of the day, you know something, not just pass through. Okay? So yes, the next exam will be harder than that one.
Well, we figured that.
You figured that.
We figured it.
Because as you move up, it's more in depth. So not that the questions themselves will be difficult, it's how you give me answers. Okay? Now one other thing that goes in the intro, you keep writing about the Evidence Act in terms of record keeping. And so you gave me that the retention for the documents is 7 years. The retention of documents is 5
5
years.
years.
5, not 7.
Right. He only said, I think I got confused because he said he
Some,
said
yes.
some,
The law says.
The
law
law says
is
5,
right.
you can keep it as long as you want, not
Yeah.
shorter. But it must be 5.
yeah.
So some people who answered the question said right out, the Evidence Act say you must keep it for 7 years,
They're
full stop.
mistaken what he said, 'cause he
And then,
said
and
like
then, and then one other sentence say, and these documents could be so and so. So you get 0, because it's not the answer. And some people were in that class when I told them what it was. It says, I said it's 5 years.
Yeah, that's fine.
They said that in the book too.
It says it in the legislation. That's your source document. It says it. All right? We feel good now? Why you look like that?
I feel like I'm in law 505.
No. When we started this class last week, what did we say? Everything we do is based on law. Everything you do.
Yeah, it's basically.
People arguing about immigration, right? In the news. What is that based on? Law, the Constitution, Immigration Act. Everything is based on law. And that's the only thing that you're doing. You're not going through the legislation and applying it. You're just knowing that I'm asking you for this information, or I'm doing this, and this is why I'm doing it. So in intro and intermediate, you begin to understand why this is important to us as a country. Okay? So, in the paper, this week, is something that you should have read. Business section. Government targets 75% technical comply on anti-money laundering. Who can tell me why? Start with you. What that means?
Can you say it again?
What is on the exam?
What is that?
What paper did you have it? Which paper, what day?
Read the papers.
Huh?
No, but I was sure.
Who's in the tired?
That was Thursday or Friday, people. Because I was no red. Thanks.
What do you mean?
I didn't see it.
Start with you.
7:30 in the morning. Tell me I did.
Homework.
I didn't see it. Did not see it.
This is connected to homework.
Okay, let's try.
Try.
Okay. As it relates to technology.
Don't laugh. Come, my student, let's go. Where them two who's in the back here? Three of them. Where are them three?
What day is my clothes?
The other. What happened? Why you hiding from me?
But that's
What is
the
it?
question
You
the
know?
song that gets finished.
Honey bun, you know? Cool? What?
That don't sound like it's finished.
No, it's not, but it just says the headline.
I know they trying to reverse some.
Interesting. Anything came in the paper on Thursday, Friday? Something in
Government
October.
has 75%.
7:30 in the morning.
The
Yes.
CFAC
Up as
Mhm.
especially the education, maybe with the credit unions, I know, and cleaning up of the unverified accounts.
So she got part and you got part. You just reach,
Yes,
pick it
ma'am.
up us.
I was basically going to say, it has to do with cleaning up, and letting businesses know that they are really going to enforce these rules.
Yeah, think so? So, didn't I not give you homework last week to read the CFATF report? Didn't I tell you to read it?
Yes. No, honestly,
I'm
yes,
putting it
and
on the exam.
It's okay.
Okay.
I'm more comfortable now based on our prior discussion. Yeah.
All right. So it says in the article, the gaps identified by the CFATF included an incomplete national risk assessment. Do you know what that means?
Yes.
What?
Based on what they would have advised during their last visit or their last evaluation, we were not compliant,
Okay.
fully compliant.
But that doesn't mean what that says. The gaps identified by the CFATF included an incomplete national risk assessment. And actually, what does that mean?
We haven't done it.
Yes, B.
Yeah,
We didn't do a risk assessment of all of the sectors in the Bahamas. We didn't finish it. The country has identified where there are money laundering and terrorist financing risk in every sector. And then take the legislation and make the necessary amendments. So the first thing they say was it was incomplete. Then they say here, and they say lack of money laundering investigations, prosecutions, and convictions. We talked about that last week. Then it says lack of effective targeted sanctioning regime. What are you talking about? Yeah, we don't oppose any sanctions. We don't have a sanctions regime. So you would have seen when the CFATF left, the first thing the governor says, that they're forming a new unit and they will be forming a sanctions regime. Next, identification of a large number of unverified banking facilities. That's the point she came up. What should have happened? Why are they bringing this up? Large number of unverified banking facilities.
Some were cleaned up the last time, but it's still.
When was the last time? 2000. So 17 years later, those accounts are still unverified, and they should have been closed, not open. They're all risk of money laundering. Next one, low suspicious transaction reporting. What does that mean?
No prosecution?
Hmm?
Did not, like prosecuting no one. Low, when they say low, it's like.
That's the prosecution part, we said that already.
We're
They're saying low suspicious transaction reporting. We're not even reporting sufficient.
Knowing.
No, we are reporting, but it's not sufficient. Next one, anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing sanctions are too limited.
But if they say we don't have a sanction, why are they saying that it's too limited?
What?
I thought you said first we don't have a sanction.
But you said it's been designed for units or something.
He's gonna do a unit.
So
He said that's
why-
targeted sanctions, which is just sanctions in general.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are the weaknesses that they identified. So you know that coming on the exam. Then move down.
We're coming on exam, all the
Never mind. Then
weaknesses?
listen.
All the weaknesses?
So-
You better find that out quick.
Mr. Bethel said the government's, hold on, I'm gonna let Joni go for you for you. Mr. Bethel said the government's response also includes a summary, a comprehensive
You
legislative
could go on their
report.
website, it's in
So they're gonna
PDF,
amend the
it's right
legislation again.
on CATF website.
It said-
It's right there.
With the Attorney General's office having drafted changes already, the Proceeds of Crime Act, the Financial Transaction Reporting Act, the Traveler's Currency Declaration Act, the Customs Management Regulation, and the Anti-Terrorism Act. All of those are gonna be amended. It is the government's intention that the end result of the implementation of the noted action plans and the enactment of the compendium of bills, which were reviewed to ensure that there would be no strong sense of regulatory overreach. The CFATS 11 effectiveness ratings would be greatly improved, with most falling within the substantial level of effectiveness, and the 40 technical ratings improved to at least 30 compliant and largely compliant positions. So that's why I asked you last week to read the report from CFATF. Read the deficiencies, because between now and when you take this exam, changes will be happening. So when you get your exam question, you should know where we are. Okay? Good.
So that's when I go on this website, I will see just, money laundering.
That's stuff where they put in the paper, it's different from the summary of the report. That's what I thought. I knew what she said about low for low SCR, and then just like low condition, no condition of prosecution. I get It's already around their website. I went on the CFTF website, and there's a tab, I think it says mutual evaluations or reports. I think that's what it says. It's something to that effect. Click on it, and you'll see all the reports. And it's clearly labeled, it says on the Bahamas, and it gives the date July.
We good? So you already know one question that's on there. White chicken. I don't know what that means. All right, so let me go around the room. I started there last time, let me start over here. What did you read? No, she just read you. Intro people tell them it's very hard to get 50.
What?
And you need more than 50 fast.
Yes, it's very hard. Trust me.
You must read. What you know? What you request? No, you pay your money, you got get your money's worth. Let's go. What you learn?
The FATF recommendation, the difference between taxi and tax.
Oh, very good.
Started to read this the FATF recommendation,
Mhm.
and a little bit of the factor.
Okay, all right. What would you
Yes, sir.
thought? I'm about to say, I know you're having you fall asleep.
I feel like I should read to understand, not just to read.
And what happened to you?
Oh, I studied the recommendations and then, well, they're busy with work, but I'll be more prepared next time.
Your next teacher, next class, won't be me.
I read some of the recommendations.
Oh my, look at this paper. You're really going through this paper.
Oh my god.
And I was really looking for like recommendations for my job, like for customs. So I saw some of them, like, you know, would get my attention. So I went.
What would you?
I went through it all except this.
Yo, I can see it's here.
I had it, I printed to read it, but I just didn't get through it. No, I
So
went
when you
through the
get out, the article
recommendations.
goes with this.
Yeah.
What you're actually missing is the article from, I think when the governor gave his response. I have that home. So if I remember, I'll let them copy that for you too.
Okay.
Okay?
But I got through, when I got through, the FATF, but I got through chapter 2 of the book. And, the stuff on currencies. Bitcoin and whatnot.
Okay, all right. Interesting, eh?
Yeah,
Yes.
that, when I read that out.
But if you look at how banking is changing and the cost of printing money, that is where it's gonna end up.
Yeah.
There'll be no physical cash.
And then, you know, like, where they have the 2 layers.
Yeah, but it's now coming to fruition. It's all, there's lots of different coins out there. And a
It's
lot of
about, I
people.
saw about 3 or 4.
Yeah, and a lot of people who make money just administering the actual high rate where they transfer money. That's what you make, you administer it. You be an administrator. Then you have someone that calls a minor. And there's people who make sure they know how to use the system.
It's really difficult. There's some people who to adjust. Like my aunties who refuse to get online, like, yeah, I'm 27 years.
Yeah, but it's all a matter of time because it's still young. And a lot of the young people who are in the actual virtual world are in their 20s and 30s. So by the time it comes to the wider population and the banks are shrinking, most of us may be gone. So the younger ones are walking around will be in that age. There may be a few left, but that will be how it is. No money.
No physical money.
No.
But that was taught years and years and years ago to have a
Yeah, but
cashless
remember,
environment.
right, but don't forget now, a cashless environment would not have worked for money launderers.
Right.
People and then their clients, addicts. How's that gonna work?
That's true.
And if you're sending money cross-border, pay all your suppliers, that wasn't gonna work either. But as it get more sophisticated and find ways, it can be done. Because everything in the virtual currency world is anonymous.
Like somebody's being buried in the money in the fields.
Yeah, no money to be buried now, you could just move
There's
it.
so many layers.
Because you don't put it in currency anymore, you put it in the currency in the virtual world.
Right.
But like you say, but how do you, so if I'm a drug addict and I go into my dealer, how is that gonna work?
If you're in the virtual world, you pay them in your currency.
So they see them all pulling up at the corner and the dealer coming to the car window and.
No,
Okay.
no.
That's what the virtual world.
No, even like in terms of grocery stores and you can see it now with the clothing stores. They're all closing because you order online. And so going into the future, you will be ordering with your $200. You order in the virtual
But
currency.
that's what I wanted to make because that's what I was reading on too. Okay, if I'm ordering something that's illegal, like how she said, how many days without
Right.
the police finding out, okay, because I have to get them an address?
Because you can't just mail the goods.
No.
The
The physical goods will arrive. The physical goods will arrive, but the movement of this, you can't like follow the money.
You don't know the source.
You don't know the source of
of
funds.
There's so many layers.
Right, and then say the money that moves in the virtual world is not $1,000 or 100,000. They're moving 12 million, 50 million, 1 billion. They're moving across in that highway.
Is that the reason why we have this forex trading now? Where people, forex exchange and trading,
Mhm.
you have a lot of investment companies now getting into that so
Yeah.
that they be able to exchange, the money currency. Well,
Because-
we do the currency thing,
Right.
that interests
Yeah,
me about
because
that.
most people now, let me see how to put this. Even though we have tourism and we have a financial sector, we're not as modern as other cultures. Realize that, agreed? Okay. So, you're late. So, in other countries, they don't conduct business like us. Come, sit here. They don't conduct business like us. They don't go to the store and buy things. And they don't, like if I'm building a hotel or a restaurant, I don't go and order things from Miami. There is a middleman. And he could be the middleman who orders furniture. And she could be the middleman who orders glass and glass frame and all things related to it. And so when she goes to make her order, she will have a couple clients. And when she places her order for a hotel in Inagua, one in Miami, one in New York, one in Mexico, and all that is just sent by Forex.
So you don't have the actual companies even directly to the merchant.
No. There's a person who does that. So that person is the person who goes out, orders, and then tell the shipper to send it here, there, and there. And then whoever he orders for pays him his percentage, and then he sends what he needs to go to the company.
But what would be the purpose of this?
Similar to
That's how they transact business in the modern world.
similar to what Amazon has moved into Whole Foods.
Similar, yeah. But on the European side of the world, that's how they transact business. So if I'm the middleman for books, then I get myself 10 or 20 clients who need books. I go and find out who supplies those books. And then I put my orders in and I tell the supplier, I need you to drop it to that country, that one, that one, that one, and that one. And that's how people make money. So you'll have one man, his job is, he's an intermediary for parts for planes. So you have a contract with different airlines, and he gets a commission as he sends them out. So there's nobody flying up and down and going to Miami to pick up, they don't do that.
No.
There's one person, and they do the orders for all the connected features of that service they provide. So you'll have someone who comes in, they say they are an introducer, because I know you have them in the law firm. They come here, they come as a visitor, they're an introducer. So when they come with a one small briefcase and just a little letter folder. When they open that folder, then they have 10, 20, maybe 50 clients. And each one of them have looking for something different. And then they go and find the right bite for them, and they get paid for that service. So everything they do is service oriented. So if you run in a business, you do not go out trying to find a wonder who distributes this or one. They don't do that. There's one person who comes and you tell them what you need and they go and get it.
So why
And
you
everything
think we
moves by
don't
foreign exchange.
adopt that way? Because you don't think it's because of it's
You're
too
old-fashioned.
costly?
No, it's cheaper. It's cheaper. You're wiring.
But I mean, sometimes you
That's
like
my
to
job,
see
so
your
if someone
stuff.
asks.
See
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Everything is technology based.
Technology.
And that's why this learning with money laundering and terrorist financing is critical. Because when people start wiring money, you have to know where it makes sense. And so in your job, if you see a large shipment come, a huge shipment come of whatever item it is, maybe let's say it's air conditioning, right? But if that person has lived anywhere in Europe or in Canada, when they order air condition, the tailors, Kelly's, that is how it's done. all the different places. They may be different manufacturers. Because what they do is, if I'm ordering for 6 different companies, I ask them what is my delivery date. So they can all have the same delivery date. They're all coming the same time. And then there's within the route, there's one place where they stop, where they can all be packaged one time, but they're going different places. Now, your question is, from customs is the bill of lading genuine? Does it correspond with what's coming in?
Every time they don't be.
No. Because sometimes the bill of lading is fake.
But I know
The invoice
someone.
of what's coming in.
So
I
is
know
that why they
some-
do inspection?
Yes.
But they don't inspect every single shipment that comes in though.
No, they have an idea. But the bill, it's just like when you bring in a car. If you
From
bring
that
in a
bill of
car-
lading, we can detect if you're doing something and then we'll go out and
Yeah,
inspect
because
it.
it doesn't match.
Yeah. Because we could detect whether that bill of
But you,
lading is fake.
but you have to realize too that there are certain things you could bring in that can be in a small package, but value a lot. So someone could bring in something that's worth maybe $1 million, $2 million. You don't even know what it is, you don't even know what it does. So you let it go.
That's what they have Google for, eh? You Google it to see what it is. No? Because it'll indicate on the bill of lading.
Not everything you can
IMS.
find on Google, not parts.
Okay.
Not every part you can find on Google. Not everything. So that's why I said from last classes, to do money laundering and terrorist financing, you have to read. You really have to read. Because I can order a part. If you order brakes for your car, how much does it cost?
The
One
color
brick.
of a car. It's 70.
Yeah, so 100. How much yours cost? Right, minus 350. So imagine someone has a different car. They're different prices. Then he may decide he wants to buy 6. Why? You see what I'm saying? It doesn't add up. So unless you sell it to someone else, why would you need 6?
That's something that doesn't.
Logically, it makes no
quickly.
sense. So that's the same way when you come into customs and you declaring, and they look at your stuff and they ask you, are you, this is for retail?
Yeah.
Right, and you're only one person. And then if you say, well, I bought for my system, I bought in this one and this one and this one, well, the next thing I would check is check the sizes. And after that, I check the styles. Because if they're all the same style, that's retail.
Yeah.
What? It's common sense.
Yeah, it's common sense.
You have to think like a criminal. To catch a criminal, you have to think like one.
They said that we're 7 hours yesterday.
Yeah.
Outright, it just becomes common sense.
It's common sense. You have to think like a criminal. And what did you read? What did you read? Homework.
Oh. I read the CT
The evaluation. CFP, yeah?
What you read?
Okay, all right.
We're talking to about taxation,
He thought he was gonna speak to me. Going out from. I did not scare him. I tell you what people do. They come to 1, skip 3, come to 2, skip 2, and then they show up to the final, and then they're surprised. I don't think so. They're probably busy.
disclosure, they may say like, we are not, prosecuting a lot, right? Like you just, but like, the various departments who can prosecute persons, we are not equipped with the legal authority, like especially like money laundering, right? Like if someone going out, or even if they coming in, we don't have that closure declaration, except you're going from a fixed base operation, fixed base airport, you know, a small airport. Like when you go to the big airport, you know, U.S. Customs. Put it in place. No, but that's what I'm saying. We putting it in place. Yeah. You see, they saying they amending it, but that's what I'm saying. It's like the persons at the forefront. We can't see a lot of prosecution because we're not equipped with that.
But look at it from over time. All these things should have, if we had a transnational assessment, we should have known where the loopholes are.
In a lot of cases where we are, right, because we are not equipped with the legal authority to like to challenge them, we have to turn it over to the police. And then sometimes, you know, the police charge them under something else.
A different, yeah, we realize that.
At customs and myself, we found persons coming in with money all over them, right? We don't have that authority, right? So when we look, the police in the back of us, or we have to call the police in. And then when you listen about that case, you hear say, but I thought it was something else, but then they charge them under conspiracy or something.
Right.
So you want to avoid money laundering.
Okay. So remember from the first glance now, let's go back. What's money laundering? We went all around the class. What is money laundering?
Moving monies from one place to the next place.
Why?
To
conceal that.
So if someone has money strapped on them, right? Yeah, we know you're going to jail. But the question is it proceeds of crime? That what brings it into the money laundering and the proceeds of crime act. The cash has to be cash from something illegal.
Right.
Then it falls under the proceeds of crime act.
Because I saw where this lady and this gentleman, they came in and they had on the bodysuit, just like I wear, and they had on the bodysuit and the money was under the bodysuit, right? And before customs, we could have finished up examination or whatever. I guess the U.S. authority had contacted the police because they know we didn't have such thing in place. And before we could have finished these people, there was like about 50 police standing in the back of us. And it happens that one of the person came to me, and being at the officer that I am, I will make sure that you pulled out a phone. And I told the lady came and she said, I only have a pamphlet. And I was like, well, can you kindly pull out that phone for me? And when she came and she said nothing to declare, so she didn't have no money or nothing, right? But when she bent over, I saw the money stacked there. And we had to go to court. And when we got to court, the first thing they asked for was that declaration. There was like, you need to see that declaration. And this was my like second week on the job. And I was like, thank God. I told her to go back and get that. But before we could have finished the examination, the police came and they got the declaration and they grabbed them. And apparently they got charged on something else, but it wasn't money laundering. And like I said, this is why in the news you will not hear a lot about saying money laundering because we don't have that legal authority. But they're gonna make the amendment. So once they make that amendment with a declaration and a disclosure, we'll be able to, you know, you'll be here more on the news saying that. You know, you're being prosecuted, but like I say, it's a lot happening. But once the police charge them, they're gonna charge them on a conspiracy or something with the crime. And it just
because
and then when the FAA people come, whatever they mean, they say we ain't doing nothing. So they're just going under a
transient point. We're transient point. So whatever money passed through here, we're like an intermediary. They're just passing along the way. And so the kind of monies that they would get from money laundering is not the same as what those people are going to get over there. They're only getting paid for the pass through. So when they get caught and they say they found 10 million, 5 million, whoever whoever had that drugs is not getting $5 to $10 million.
No, no.
They were only gonna get whatever the charge is to carry you through.
They don't even pay them nothing much.
It's not much.
Not even
Because a lot of people when they're charged, there's no money on their bank account. They have no money. So whatever they were going to be paid, they probably paid for their bills with it or whatever.
Their life to carry on.
Exactly, to go to jail.
Yeah. You're just an intermediary, so you're just getting, well, you can say a fee. So my job is to make sure it moves from Acklands to Bimini. They may pay you $10,000, may pay you $5.
Like the drugs were like $1 million.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but you see, don't forget that you have to pay people along the way. That's just the cost of doing business. Because otherwise, then you're gonna increase the price of the product when you get to your customers. And you want as many customers as you can get. The price is too high. You don't have enough customers. The more customers, the more you ship, the more money you make.
Wow.
Just like any product. It's a product.
It's worth living in this world because
It's a product.
I guess
It's
that's
not
where a lot
stress.
of people get killed, but they spend on the way they steal the money. You know what I mean? They say, I get $1 million to you. You wanna give me 500? Let me take this. And then, you know, you're dead.
Yeah, so that's why she I see what they said. Tell them so they can hear. Because you read the report.
Wait, drink
See, tell them what you read.
carry something for one day.
I didn't say you didn't read it. Did they say that? No. Tell them what you read.
The report is basically just talking about how the Bahamas is sort of, our jurisdiction is lacking in areas of anti-money laundering and compliance. And one of their findings was that for 17 cases from 2000 to 2017, only 17 cases came up. Now, we all know there's more things happening. And out of the 17 cases, only 7 were prosecuted. 2 vanished, 2 skipped and gone somewhere. And the other
Over 17 years.
yeah.
We don't have these politicians, yeah, we have.
So,
You gotta do a lot.
you have a lot to do. And you also in the report you read where they said that a lot of the employees at the institutions,
Yeah.
they need training.
But again, it's too, I think it's difficult because it's one thing to acknowledge that we have the problem, but I think we can't touch it. It's difficult to, because I can see that something is wrong, and I can point it out that this is wrong. But if the powers that be are like, okay, well, don't worry about that, you know what I mean? It's difficult, like, because our society is a societal issue as well.
And I really think the training has a lot to do with it too. Why some of the cases will go missing. Because for example, if you don't really know and you find the money, and when we did our introduction, right? We did a practical where they showed us like not to touch the monies and stuff. Because if you find $1 million, you'll say, okay, let's count it. But in the event of counting the monies, you know, you contaminate all the evidence.
Yeah, 'cause it's
And so
evidence.
if I'm not experienced officer, police officer, or custom
And so then you
officer,
have
I
your
could tell my
case.
friends, I could say, I mean the other officers involved, I could say, look here man, y'all let's count this because you know to inquest the lie and say this was 5 million and this 1 million. When we know for best practice is not to count the monies because if you tamper with it, and so if you tamper with it, all of our hands is gonna be on that, and then at the end there's no case. And we have to give the people their monies back. You see? So I think a lot, the training really has to go far, you know, with us.
Now, I watched a movie a couple weeks ago where they went into a house because this was a special ops team to retrieve money from a money launderer's house. You watch that? Yes. And the money disappeared.
No, $1 million, I think 10
Yeah.
million out of the money is
It disappeared.
When my brother in Fort
But they took
Myers
it.
got killed, I mean, down
The special ops team
last
took it.
year, police
Yeah.
took,
They
police
ended
took
up killing
photos
each other.
of the
Over
money
this
that was in his house. Police took photos of the money that was in his house, and the police showed me the monies, the pictures. And when I went over there
There was no
to
money.
get his body, there was no money. And he was like, well, you'll have to put in a case, but you know, you could go through so much because this one was in the house after we leave, and that one moved the body, and that one. But he actually had the pictures showing me where my brother had these hundreds of dollars, like where he just got paid, and his checks and stuff, and then he had like a big jar, you know, those 5-gallon jars, water jar. That was gone.
So
Oh, he was robbed. They robbed
But
there.
the police robbers.
no, the police didn't rob him. The police said after they left the scene, they photographed these stuff.
Yeah.
Then they left the scene, and whoever went in the house,
Just took everything.
right before we got there, they just took everything. So, and then what it is for us to go back to get a lower case.
In the back seat.
No.
All right, so let's start chapter 2. Laundering the proceeds of tax evasion. I know some people did some reading. What's tax evasion?
Trying to duck out.
See, you listen these times and you go write them on my exam.
No, you know I wouldn't write that on your
No,
exam.
I'm
Once you,
no duck.
once you, tell
What's
me.
tax evasion? Yes.
I'm not living up to paying their taxes.
So we have tax evasion right here in the Bahamas. How do Bahamians evade taxes?
Coming through customs.
They don't get clear what they.
Not paying your real property tax. What else? Can you escape VAT?
Yeah,
Well, no, not, but that's so new now. They think I don't escape that yet.
Not yet.
No, they.
they'll go, yeah, they'll go to finance with you.
They police on that like crazy.
So NIP is one of the loopholes. Now, we've increased NIB, what, every 2-3 years? So would you think it's fair if we introduced income tax? Or increase VAT?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, VAT is on consumption. Income tax is on your income. NIB is also on your income. NIB is being depleted fast.
Because
There probably won't be any funds for y'all. I know I get mine.
because they need to leave NID or what is it green mark for. NID is almost like a pension. You don't touch pension funds to lend another government agency to buy some store, improve something. And that's what
I
they do, they
agree with
keep
you.
borrowing from it.
But the losses already occurred.
Yes, that's already occurred, and even though the losses already occurred, they still doing it.
Yes.
So that's why there isn't gonna be anything left for when people like us retire.
But you have a
And
lot
we've
of
paid
people
all
who
this
don't
money into the
contribute.
fund.
Yes. A lot of people don't contribute. A lot of people on disability, invalidity, sickness. I mean.
And now they have the unemployment benefit.
Exactly. So, to keep the country going, we need money.
So we don't have tax income.
So should we tax the income or increase the consumption percentage?
At a certain threshold, we can.
Ours is the lowest. Countries are about 18%, 25%, 30%. And that was stopping from consuming so much.
Man, you really can't put it on the food and stuff too. Hey, I'm done, right? If you put it on the food, you
Yeah,
did.
there's customs duty and then you have VAT. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, what?
they can increase VAT, right? But I really don't feel fine that VAT should be taxed on healthcare and education. They're already high, and those are things that go up every year without fail. I would think they should tax healthcare. Shouldn't. They're already expensive.
There's no tax, they reversed it, they took that off. They reversed that.
But see, they tax healthcare because they know it goes up every year, so the higher it is, the more VAT they make because it goes up. So that's like extra money they make in.
Okay,
every
so
year.
you all are quibbling about this little bit of 9.8% for NIB, that's a total contribution. this 7.5%, quibble. How much is real property tax? 2%? No, but the percentage of the value. People are not paying it. They've not paid it for years. They've added on and added on. They're trying to collect it. The screen will come when they start doing the aerial shots and sending people their bills.
But they've already been doing it.
Yeah, but people have added on to their houses that was below the 250 and now above, they have to pay.
Because they've been literally going around and taking photos.
But you know, Ms. Archer, for the past, I had to go behind them this year. For the past 3 years, they never send me a bill.
That's not their obligation.
Yes, they
That's
have
what
to
you
put the information in the system because.
You're supposed to go and make sure it's there.
They came there, they came to our house, and they got all the information, and they leave a slip in the door, say, come and bring whatever information.
And
to
you
the
did
court.
that?
And we did that,
Mhm.
and they never put it in the system. And I had to run behind them.
Yeah.
I said, look,
You
I
have
want
to.
to pay my bill.
Yeah.
I want to pay my bill.
That's what you have to do.
So every time I go back to them, they're like, oh, but it's saying vacant.
That's all right.
I said, that's
Long as
okay.
you run behind
I said,
them, you've done what
I
you're
said, I
supposed
want
to
to pay
do.
my bill because
Yes,
I don't
don't
want it to
hide.
piled up. And so just last
I agree with you.
when I got it, it was 3 years. But
Yeah.
I argued my point and I said, look, you can't
But
put no
because you
issues
were
on this.
going, then you could argue to take off those
Yes.
years. But if you were not following up, you were gonna pay that.
Yeah.
You
I
have to
said-
pay it.
and then that still wasn't fair because you know where they was giving the percentage off, but I still couldn't get that percentage off.
No, because don't forget now, the percentage off is actually in law.
Yeah, and so that
And the
time
law
was
states the
passed.
period.
And this is why.
So the amnesty period had gone, you can't
Right.
get it
But this is
anymore.
why I wanted to pay the bill, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it all piled up, but they was able to take off the interest,
Interest, yeah.
you see? So people just saying doing their job.
All
and they
right,
saying
so
doing-
that's us over here on this little island. So let's go over to where the wealthy people are. Where they're paying more taxes than us and making more money than us. How do you think they feel?
But at least they get a return though. They get a return. Like I feel like I would be more like I understand on the intellectual level why we have to pay taxes. But it bothers me that I'm paying taxes, but I still dropping in potholes on every street that I drive on. All the public schools falling apart. All the public clinics falling apart. You gotta make 10 million years to go see a doctor, to go to the clinic. Like, you literally, it's like you throwing money, I feel as though I'm throwing money away. Because you're not seeing, you're not getting any return from it. At least from the states, they have their tax on their income, but then they get tax returns. Their public, well, depending on the area where you live, the public schools are nice. The roads are nice. Everywhere is well made. The road,
So then that brings me back again. Do you prefer if we get income tax
If we
or
can see
more
where
tax
it's-
on
If we
consumption?
can see where it's going.
I guess there's so many different places for it to go.
Right.
That's why you're not really free.
I think if we
Yeah, but a decision has to be made.
If that goes up, consumption is gonna go down, or streamline or more budgeted on an individual basis. And people won't spend or end up living
If you
above
make
their
over,
means.
if you make
So
the
they have
salary,
a-
then maybe tax
Yeah.
goes, and maybe you make 50,000 a year.
So it'll force
think it
people to
should- I
live
think it should go
within
to
the
the
budget
means,
means.
to the side. I think it should go to
I
the
don't
side.
make less than a certain, like, if you're making $20,000, I don't.
Put tax on that, on the
Put tax
salary.
on the people who
Who
make.
But
make
even
big
for
money?
NIB is has different categories too, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it should be like on income tax.
yeah.
Tax income
On the
or
salary.
consumption?
Consumption.
We're consumers.
Consumption.
Look at them. Look at them.
We're consumers. Because everybody pop in the shop. Everywhere I look, I see someone selling the trunk of the car. Close when they see you coming. From all different nationalities. Yeah, oh yeah. They sell shoes, clothes, pot, slippers, handbags, everything. Everything in the trunk of the
How
car.
many shops
No
are
license.
in homes?
They do it online.
So why NIB have different prices for different people, different amount? Like the
Salary scale.
Can't they do that just one
No.
way?
No, the salary scale.
Salary scale.
Why you gonna tax? Why you gonna tax me, the low income person, the same thing you tax the high income person? When the high income person
But
gets,
then let's tax everybody something in the middle. $20. But that ain't fair though. That-
I can let the minister know you all agree. 5% income tax.
We have to look at it.
But I that's because you're salary. Because
No.
I'm thinking of, I'm thinking about
And then they still don't want you come back when you're sick, because they say you double dip.
Erasing the VAT on
You see what I'm saying?
groceries, right? So I'm thinking on those two things, because obviously it's gonna
But they
go
say in
straight
government
across
people
the board.
double dip when you come
Those
back.
two things, because these things don't happen in the
You see what I'm saying?
right? What is that going to do to people if we now double it? Let's say we go from 7.5% to 15%.
Wow, boy, that's a killer. You're there.
But that's where we're going first.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it
Yeah.
was.
See, but
And so we have to get there. And we have to get there quickly.
think about what the loaf of bread, think about now what the price of a loaf of bread is gonna be.
Yeah. But look at it. But look at it like this. There are other Caribbean countries and other countries around the world where it's higher. You have to bite the bullet and you have to change the way in which you live. It's to change. The way we live is not normal. This is not normal.
But I agree to a certain
We really can't go up.
Go online
We
and
really
go
can't
back.
go back.
No, go online and Google back for countries that give you the whole list. We are the lowest. London and most places, they are like 20-25%.
You know why we are the lowest, because we import a lot of stuff.
How people are it's expensive.
Yeah, and then we don't need to know that.
It's gonna- it's
Remember,
gonna
we
be
only
more
know it
cost
because
effective
this is
to
something
you
that
to
they introduced.
to go and
Because you
eat
remember
a
that it
dollar
initially they were
burger
gonna start at
of
15% and they sliced
They
it.
used to get chicken and broccoli or
That's 75% on a whole.
Well, okay, as the VAT
That's
go up,
75% on one.
if the VAT go up, then adjust some of the duty rates and make it more reasonable.
Yeah, but a lot still free.
5% on flipping cars?
Yeah, but we're
Shit.
what am I trying to say?
That's a necessity.
What am I trying to say?
Things that are necessity.
She falls
Right,
because
the
they
ID
can
card.
It's because we import a lot of stuff, so this is why we come to low.
So whatever you contribute help towards
Because
those
it's
who can't
also
afford it, but they have the same care. That's around the world.
You go to them Dutch, you know, people bringing their stuff in there and put out their 7.5%. They lose. If you go
She may not want to, she may can't purchase. Okay, all y'all know what it is.
Yeah, the other countries still survive. They and those other Caribbean countries are higher than us, and we are richer
I
than
want to
them.
make
But they
it
survive.
But they survive because they don't import those to put that
Yes, they do. Those other Caribbean countries don't import other
First idea is mothers should not.
I know, I guess they're only expensive.
Yeah, no, but you need it.
Remember now,
You can see children are raising themselves.
less expensive
Because mothers are out there so busy trying to make money.
paying more
When you have a baby,
to get it
can't go to
there.
work.
And their freight going 2 or 3 times before they get to them.
3 months is
We
come back.
pay what we want. We don't know.
So you because yeah, so you come back with
All that people are carrying
continuously. But if I buy
But some
and quantity,
they take advantage of it because like they make that.
They come back.
Put it up so high. You understand?
They may try.
No, you see
I
that?
can't
The duty-free item, the duty-free item should not be high. You ain't paying the bundle enough, and you ain't paying- and I agree with that.
Yeah, because they there, and then they go squirm somewhere else. You're all over. Stop it.
You know what I mean? You just honest.
That's what they do. They take in the bus, they take in the pictures, send it out to everybody, say, don't go on that road. But eventually, you gotta come up somewhere.
Corruption and enforcement laws and, based on these recommendations, it should be strict, but just.
This is this one round.
Right, so they could go and draw up legislation and stuff for them because of the corruption.
So what's the difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance?
You try to avoid paying less money. Let's give a restriction.
Avoidance,
That's tax.
they just use different mechanisms to pay lower tax. They pay taxes, so they pay a lower tax.
it's not tax avoidance, it's not.
Evasion, they pay low tax, they find a mechanism they don't pay and duck it.
As opposed to tax evasion, where you have to pay taxes on these particular things, you're just not paying it.
Right. So now we see the world has shifted. Since countries now realize, just like us, that they need money, and they of the view that their citizens are not giving them sufficient money to run their country, they decided to look at their tax regime. So all of those persons who live in your country but paying minimum taxes or no taxes, This is why they introduced FATCA and CRS. Because people who come here to the Bahamas and other offshore jurisdictions, they do what? Tax what?
Evasion.
No.
Yo.
Avoidance. They bring their money here and they structure it
Sure, yeah.
to avoid paying heavy taxes.
Or they pay some.
Yeah, they pay taxes, but they don't pay,
They don't pay what, that's what I was telling you. They don't pay what they should.
pay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so now what they're doing is they're coming to all of these offshore centers to say, let me know if Donnie Sue has any income that needs to be taxed.
Is that the reason why they create a trust, they create a company, and then put all the
Yes.
assets underneath it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, connecting all my dots.
Yes.
So you saying the
So-
foreign people is coming here to finance
Yes.
from offshore banks?
Like the second home owners, they
Second
come in
Look
and
at the
they,
homeowners, yeah.
Yeah, so
They come to establish a
let's
trust.
follow
You don't
the
know-
plan.
How we benefiting from that?
Okay, hold on, no.
These people
I
The
get
see
money.
it right now.
the fees we
Here
charge
he
them
is.
out, let them manage and do the administrative work of the company.
He lives in Italy.
They find ways. They go through
He
the
has
integration layer, my lord, that's how they
some
go.
cash,
They invest it and then sell
he
it.
probably has owns some malls around the world. He probably has some properties like condos, apartments around the world. And he probably has some businesses around the world. Now most of the times these persons have what we call family structures. So it's not just him one. It could be him with his brother, his brother-in-law, his uncle, his aunties. They're not like us. When I start my business, I business with me and me alone. They do family structures. So it's everybody. So let's just say it was him and his wife, and they had 5 children. Those 5 children, along with their spouses, are all a part of this. You don't break up the family structure.
yeah.
So that's why the money looks like a lot, because it's not just one person. So one of these children here with their spouse could say, let's start an advisory company. And let's start that in France. This child here with their spouse could say, let's do a consulting firm. And let's do that in Spain. But realize they're all a part of the same structure. So, what Daddy decides to do is, he's getting about 50. He says, let me fly to an offshore jurisdiction. And he goes to an offshore bank and he says, this is what I have. This is my family. And I want to secure these assets for their children and their children's children, and at the same time we want an income, and we don't want a headache of managing none of this. So the job in the Bahamas is, let's create a structure for him whereby he pays less taxes and his properties earn income. He can pay himself and his beneficiaries and his children from the income from here. And he has no headache. All he does is wait for his money.
So that's illegal?
No.
It's legal.
That's legal. That's
So,
why we have so many trust companies.
You take the family, let's call them, I don't know, what do you call them? Pig? So the pig family is here. That's the daddy,
No, but
the wife,
they
the children, and all their spouses.
They pay taxes, but
And
they
caught up.
don't pay insurance.
No, they won't
So
use
it's
their
not
own name.
illegal.
They use a Bahamian
They
name.
weren't paying it.
Any.
No,
They had-
Yellow Elder Trust.
So we
They
can
use something that's indigenous to the
we
country.
could have made a law for that.
So they start a trust.
That's why CR is a-
And within the trust, you could put all of these companies. You put mall number 1 here, you put mall number 2 here, they all become subsidiaries of this. You take the cash and then you invest it in securities. Now remember, there's an offshore trust company managing all of this. And so when these securities come, these securities can be in the name of the trust company itself. So the purchases on behalf of the trust.
So, Ms. Archer, how does FATF feel about this whole structure that we make up for these people?
What do you mean?
Do they have a recommendation they want us to change this?
No. No.
I mean, that's some amendment for them to pay more tax than paying a little bit,
The whole point of the structure.
No, the whole point of the structure.
is to pay less.
Uh-huh.
Well,
What?
So the FATF didn't have no recommendation for these offshore banks.
What are you trying to do?
I'm asking you, do they
You
have?
trying to put us out of business?
the second most largest form of income for the Bahamas itself is financial
But
sector.
I know you mentioned something much earlier about the banks. In the recommendation, in the thing that he was reading much earlier.
That's commercial.
Commercial banks with money
Okay.
laundering.
Yeah.
Trust is primarily designed as a wealth management vehicle.
Manage the money.
To manage the assets. And so all you're doing is you're putting those assets into a trust in order to ensure that one, you pay less funds. Two, you're able to manage your assets so that it's like, three.
So we could do that in the US?
Do it where?
We could take our money to the US and do that?
That's a different tax regime. Unless you go to Delaware.
Yeah.
If you incorporate a company in Delaware
It's set up
and
like
don't
that.
do business in the United States,
Mhm.
then it's advantageous to go to the United States.
Yeah, don't be doing money.
No, you're missing two different things. You do this for estate, wealth, management, asset protection.
And this is all under tax avoidance. You're trying to
Yes.
avoid this. This
Yes.
is evasion.
No, it's avoidance. You build a structure. And so everything that you own all around the world comes here. And your name is no longer on none of these assets. Whose name is on the assets? The trustee. The trustee owns these. So the only thing you get is your income.
I have a question. Like how they did this, right, with all of the sons and everybody being beneficiaries to it, and they branched off and made their own companies. It's still basically a partnership because it branched from the father.
No more
No?
partnership, no.
Okay, so if they probably.
They can take all of these consultancy firms
Uh-huh.
and put them all underneath the trust.
But it's not a partnership.
No,
Okay.
They'll all be separate companies,
Mm-hmm.
all owned by this one trust. Because remember now, this trust is owned by the daddy, the mother, all the children, and all their spouses, their children and children.
But I mean, like, all of those aren't tied up together, looping back to the daddy, no.
No, what do you mean looping back?
Meaning.
Okay, like to say if let's just say if like an incident like how they had Enron company where they would now have to pay out to these persons, would the trust company now, the monies from that get involved to if one of those companies was to flop?
You mean if one of these advisory companies went bankrupt?
Like how they have France, Spain, how you have France, Spain. Let's just say the Spain company get
Now
bankrupt
remember
or
now,
something.
when the daddy turns over these assets to the trustee, that's the trustee's responsibility. He has to manage them.
But the children can't use this money to bail themselves sort of.
No, they don't own it anymore.
They have to go
Okay.
to the trustee.
They have to go to the
What happens
trustee.
if they write a deed governing how it should be
And it depends
managed?
on how the daddy set up the trust.
Oh, okay.
But once those assets are turned over to a trustee, he no longer owns it. The only thing he can get is whatever is the income that comes from him. He can stipulate how much he wants to get.
And another person or company can't sue the children to get any income if the business was to say, like for example,
No, it's a
the
trust.
Clayco,
It's a trust.
They can't bother with that.
It's a
No.
trust.
Okay.
So he completely pretty much washed his hands
Off the money.
He's just pretty much getting paid.
Yeah.
That's it, so nothing else.
The trustee manages all of this
Can it be
for a
reversed?
fee.
Can it be reversed? Can you, like, say, okay, I don't want my money here, I don't want my assets and everything here anymore. Can I just be like, okay, I could take it somewhere else for some other trust to manage it? Okay.
But you gotta have money.
But that's
don't
still
do
a
that.
bad thing,
No, no,
because
don't do
remember,
that.
I think in the news and sometime in the world a few weeks ago where a company was
Especially
trustees for
jurisdiction
somebody and they were
changes.
stealing their money. And
Yeah,
if a
yeah, but
certain
that's
amount
yeah,
of
but that's a
time,
risk.
It added up.
Yeah, but that's a risk. But don't forget now, the beneficiaries have a right to sue.
Okay. But nothing from nothing we use nothing.
No, you have to
Not
pay.
that money no more.
You have to pay.
Okay.
The trustees will have to pay.
I'll go to
So
the-
they'll take your house, your car, and everything you own. And then in addition to that, you'll never be able to work in the field again. Nowhere in the world. Yeah. So your reputation is gone and all the years of experience.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Can't
like
work
a
in the
law,
area
that's
no
like a
more.
lawyer protecting your stock too now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if a
No.
lawyer protecting your monies and your whatever. If you have some monies in a bank and you don't want no one know, and you give it to the lawyer and put it in a lawyer company name.
That's an escrow.
Oh.
That's the same thing.
And suppose the lawyer take it.
Then you'll have to sue them.
You could take their house and car and everything.
Because most of them are in a partnership. Some are companies. But a trust is totally different.
Oh,
And that's the business that we're in now. Because that's taking over commercial banking.
Ms. Archer, you read the report on the, we were like, I think 80-something countries, the Bahamas was once number 5. I think
We
in
used to
Europe.
be between Cayman, we used to battle between
Now
the
we're
two for
like
years.
80-something.
We're way down to the
Way
bottom.
down in terms of offshore business.
Yeah.
Because we got blacklisted.
Once you got blacklisted, we went down.
And FATCA.
No, everybody has to do FATCA. Yeah. But we have to get these recommendations from the CFETM up to continue doing business.
So it doesn't make sense for then you to go offshore then, because you, like back then, it wasn't, you couldn't evade taxes or avoid them as easily as now with all of the different regulations, so.
No, but when we started here, we started our offshore center on tax evasion.
Now it makes sense for them to keep their money there in their home country, rather than bring it, it's still gonna be taxed anyway, right?
But won't have to be taxed the same way. But don't forget now, when you're thinking, you're not thinking of, these people are not worth no $1 and $2 million. They're worth in the billions. It's a lot of money. And they have to manage it.
Ms. Archer,
Yes.
question. While you're talking about these taxes, there's another tax that I came across about this state, something about the April 5th, something about the non-domicile tax.
Yeah,
on
I remember
property.
saying that.
What is that on?
When it comes to,
It's like, it's similar to the estate and inheritance tax.
yeah. So, what the UK does is, when you have a trust, they tax you on the income of the trust. And the trustee pays the tax. And what they have done in their taxation regime is they've broken it down as to whether or not the beneficiary is domiciled in the UK or not. Yeah.
Yeah, that means they will get away.
Yeah. So before, when you were what they call it, non-domiciliary resident, then you didn't pay taxes. And so you had most of them, even though they were UK citizens, they were non-domiciliary, because then you move into the next law. The law that says, in terms of where you live,
Right.
where's your residency? Because don't forget now, you're born, you have a nationality where you're born. Then you can go to another country and you can live there and buy a home like here, get a permanent residency. So you have a residence here. Then you could have another house over in Mauritius and you buy a house for $1 million, $2 million, you get a residency there. So these people carry 6 and 8 passports and they're residents of all these countries.
So then we should, in
impose a law like that?
What?
Where we can't, because the UK, that tax is what, 30% or something
Mhm.
like that on there. So we should do something like that for those who are second home owners, wherever they are, as in if they're domiciled somewhere else, or even if some of them are here who have second homes are domiciled here, because they live here maybe 6 months of the year. We can impose a tax of maybe 20%.
They'll go home.
Yeah, we went out no business.
We make our money,
All the
we
islands.
make our
are
money
closed.
when they buy the home.
Light bill, water bill.
Light bill, water bill, maid, food,
Them
docking
keeping their money
services,
there.
and keeping their money here.
You can't-
Some of these people live here.
I
You
know,
don't see them, but they live here.
And they rent their
I
house.
know, but I'm just
I
saying
could
there's
see
a
an
way
old thought
where
there.
we
If you
can.
tax them, they're not coming here.
That's where they
They go
are.
somewhere else. Sole purpose of being here
That's what you.
is to avoid it.
You do that.
Yeah, it's a loophole.
And we need the money.
Or you can take another loophole and you can just live on a ship. You could buy a yacht. You see people in all these yachts out here, they live on those yachts. So they're not tied to no country. So there are many different ways. So let's look at the different types of taxes, because I know you already read it. Sale and value added tax, you all know about that. Tariffs and excess tax, you all know about that. That's customs in the back there. They didn't get the calculation right here. Social security tax, you know about that one. Same as NIB. Corporate tax, do we have that? Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. Where? Who pays corporate tax? Businesses? No, not IBCs. This is based on income. Banks, commercial banks pay it on the turnover. And then businesses, yeah, so turnover tax. Income tax, you also get that zone. Withholding tax, that's what the US does for factor. Then capital gains tax, do we have that yet? No. But you know it will be coming very soon. Because the government just introduced a secondary market for registered stock. Yeah. So the whole market will be changing. And then we have bill tax. We should do that one? Based on the declarations?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that one.
You like that one? Eh?
Yeah.
And then you have estate and inheritance tax.
Some like it.
Some countries do inheritance tax. But we don't. Do you think we should do that one? Why?
Give us the bucks.
I couldn't afford that.
You see one of those folks, and they could complain about potholes? You have to pay all that. Yeah, see that? She agrees with me. She agrees with me with the inheritance tax.
So that's shitty anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, the rate is not that high, you know. I know in England we pay what, 2%?
Yeah.
It's not that high. No, you can't just tax a certain level. It has to be across the board. Everybody must get a little trickle.
No, I mean, the VAT is already separating the poor from the rich. I don't think we need to.
I thought the poor from the rich was already separated before that.
We don't know, maybe we don't have a middle class then.
No.
Yes, it is.
You're a middle class, but you're a middle class if you keep the sectors that you have. Because we're in the battle, you gotta try to keep the sectors that you have, keep the middle income.
But a lot of them have been
Trying, huh?
A lot of them have been
A lot of them have been
That's why so
using.
many are ushered by schools. Well, that and all this legislation.
Yeah. But to learn how to run a slim ship. So it says here, the compliance officer at MLR is expected to understand the international aspects of taxation. So it's not just learning money laundering and terrorist financing. You have to know all of the tax regime and all the jurisdictions where you do business. I wonder why. Why would you need to know that? Exactly. So if he was coming in as a client, what would you ask him from a tax perspective?
Would you ask him?
Yeah.
Where you
Permanent
reside,
address, where you
The
reside.
taxes imposed in your country.
where you reside, where you
But you
came
should know
from.
that.
You should know that, right?
Yeah.
So rephrase the question.
It's permanent address, where he
What
lives.
was your annual
Yeah, that's
taxes
KYC.
paid?
You ask them for his latest tax return.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what you need from him, his latest tax return. Then you know he pays taxes. So if he says that, yes, I'm an Italian, but I don't pay tax in Italy, what are you gonna ask him next? No, but he gave an Italian passport, and so you ask him for his Italian tax return, and he said, I do not pay taxes
Where
in
you
Italy.
domiciled?
Exactly. Where are you domiciled? He's domiciled in another country. Then you ask him where's a tax return for that country, because he must pay taxes somewhere.
In the country where he lives, so that's his.
That's right. Because what they do is they give you the one passport, and that's it. And they'll tell you I don't pay taxes. And so if you don't know anything about money laundering, nothing about tax evasion, you just say that's it. You don't ask questions.
But do you remember back, I don't know, I think there was like an issue one time with people having multiple passports. They used to need to decide which one of these nationalities you want to
Not all
be on.
countries require that.
But now it's getting more and more that they're encouraging people to have multiple passports. Almost.
Yeah, because don't forget that the passport is a way for you to get an easy entry into a country. There's not a lot of red tape.
Yeah, I know.
And so if you're a person who have, a lot of them don't have businesses, because some people do put stuff in trust and still have a little business on the side to keep them going. And so they want to have access to all of those countries.
But I know with the US, but years ago, if someone had, let's say there was someone of Bahamian with a Bahamian passport and a US passport, they used to ask you, which one are you gonna take on?
Yeah.
And you had to get.
But I'm
the
saying
other
that's
one.
that
And
country.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
in other countries around the world, you can have the internet.
Yeah, I know, that's like,
pick
even
which one
today,
you want.
more so today now, it's more encouraged that you have 80 million passports.
Yeah. there are many
Suppose they do
passports.
not give you a tax return, the latest tax return. Suppose he just say, I don't have none.
Yeah, that's
Can
not
you turn them
possible.
down?
That's not possible.
I mean, people try.
Unless his domicile is in an offshore jurisdiction.
What I'm saying, if they do try, if they say no,
Then you don't do the
can turn-
business.
Yes, if they don't pay tax nowhere else.
Yeah,
And
something
if-
right.
And like you said, if he domicile in 2 or 3 places, you can choose which one.
What, for tax?
Yeah.
It depends on which one is actually where he stays.
But like you say, if he stay here,
Each country has their own law as to how many days is equal to someone being resident.
okay.
Yeah. So it gets really technical.
Okay.
And then it comes to, depends on the company, where the company is incorporated, with the laws that govern where the company operates. Remember what I said about Delaware? You can incorporate it in the United States, in Delaware. But if you don't do business within the United States, you don't pay no taxes. So yes, you have an American company. But if you don't do business in the United States, you pay no taxes. That's the difference.
So is there a way for the bank to find out if he's giving you the lowest one? Say if he have 3 passport and he domicile here and domicile there, and he just pick out one and give you a tax return.
But in most instances, they'll only pay tax in one
just one
jurisdiction.
place?
Yeah,
Oh,
one.
okay.
It's just one,
Okay.
not all over the place. So the imposition of taxes is based on the state establishing substantial connecting factors between the state, the person, the transaction, the property, the entity. That's how it works. So all of these connecting things come together for a country to decide, I am the one who's going to impose taxes. So you living in the Bahamas, your house is here, your car is here, your job is here, you're gonna be taxed here. That's why they always ask, when you live in the Bahamas and you're going to work somewhere, they ask you for exchange control purposes, do you intend to immigrate? And Bahamians don't fill up, and then they decide to come back. Yes, right, you never immigrated. So how you could bring that money back? And you never immigrated. How you can bring it back? And you didn't advise the authority that you immigrated.
You know, Ms. Archer, you're talking about passports, right? People having more than one passport. From a customs point of view, I see where you will have persons, say Bahamians, have American passport and Bahamian, right? And when they would come back to the Bahamas with all that goods, no, with the goods, they'll use the Bahamian because they know they have $300 exemption. But if they want to get through quick on a fast line, they'll flash the U.S. passport. Which is, you know, the U.S. passport can't get a $300 exemption.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you see how they use it in two different ways.
And so you being diligent, you're supposed to know who's a Bahamian and who isn't.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, okay, when they get upstairs to immigration now, immigration asks them, you know, which one of these passports are you using? Are you using this coming in as a Bahamian? Are you using this, are you gonna use the American passport? So it's according to what they use upstairs. Because if we go and search and we find out that upstairs they come through.
No, but if I'm living here and I have 2 passports and I live here, why are you coming back on the U.S. passport?
But like I say, from a customs point of view, we have a fast line.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
For tourists.
Right. And
But they're not a tourist.
Right. But what I'm trying to say though, they can use that in some officers who's not vigilant or whatever, profile and, you know, could profile, but they just see the U.S. passport and they go through. But when they come in with all their big bags of goods, they will then flash out that Bahamian passport because they want the U.S. I mean, it's $300.
But that's why you have to be vigilant.
So that's why I think it's sad with immigration up there though. Because see,
Because you need 2 passports? Oh, I agree. I was going to tell her that. That's $300 going to buy half a pair of shoes now.
No, they're doing better now because even
I'm just twice a year, you know. You buy one off when you.
But Ms. Archer, if you get $300, you know now it's better because you can carry the baby, the infant getting $300. So you see people carrying 5 and 6
Oh yeah,
babies.
yeah, I know they do that.
So
they carry the
and
whole
the baby
family.
free. No,
All of that is exemptions.
no, the ticket is free, baby. They said the ticket for the babies is free.
Under 2, but they get a $300.
But they get exemption. You see what I'm saying? So during the summertime, you see Sue coming through with 5 babies. And that thing, and you can't tell Sue she can $1,500 exemption.
So you see? So what is she doing? Evading or avoiding?
Because she won't pay nothing.
I'm not going to Vegas.
That's all, you won't pay nothing.
Lock me up every time.
You hear that? She said lock up. She's not paying taxes.
She said, oh, no, I'm not y'all. Anytime that she go in the suitcase empty.
She come up with a full.
Come back with the suitcase full, but it's not money. I
think $300 is too little.
Yeah, too little for them.
Yeah. Should we put it to $750?
Yeah,
I don't think you should put it to $750. Like I said, you using the babies. You see? So no need to.
We have nothing going on by myself. There's no babies.
I'll carry 3 push-ups. The double push-up? Put 2 in it.
If you go away for a week, right? Even if you catch a sale, you go in different stores. $300 is no money.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
But they have that on the customs tax. That is.
But wait, hold on, I already told you they calculate that wrong.
I do not.
You don't pay VAT, and then you pay customs on top of the VAT.
Right.
Mathematically, that don't make no sense.
I think they can live with that.
I was on a trip, but
I
we
bought it at the
represented
cost
the Bahamas.
$34 and you told me after
where you
customs I
were?
pay $74 for the stupid thing.
Oh, do you know where she's going?
No, And the thing when you this big.
Okay.
I was the only person on the team that went left NASA with one suitcase and returned one suitcase. But persons come back with 2 and 3 suitcases because they knew when we entered NASA, we just walked through.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair.
No.
They shocked. And I was jealous.
I was shocked to my business fair.
You would be, you told the woman to break the law.
And say, what they did? Yeah, but then see, it's really, if you have integrity, not to cheat the government, you see what I'm saying? So, because time was cheating in that, I mean, I didn't cheat them, I didn't get catch. You think I fool going because time was go through? You would have, it starts with you yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And plus you're going on behalf of your company.
Exactly.
So what if they just point the finger at that?
Exactly. Suppose I do random check and I say, look, you come here.
Oh, hold on. That's what I have something to say.
For VPN?
Yes.
No,
No.
integrity.
Yeah.
The Bahamas Power like company.
Oh, okay.
I really want
After Hurricane Matthew, you still get $250 light bill.
What did that say?
$250. Did not pay for 3 weeks. $250.
Let's give it estimate.
She working legal.
That's against the law.
You see this? Welcome. Last week it was the gaming people. And they come back this week.
Miss Archer, the customs lady could afford to look at me good, because when I go hold up my passport, just said this, I say she in my glass, and walk straight past her and say, I know into her.
You hear that? Don't mind her. She'll think. So a person who's resident in the state is liable for taxes. We said that already. Now, however, that the U.S. tax regime imposes an obligation to pay U.S. taxes upon persons who are U.S. citizens wherever they reside. That's how their law works. You want to do that here too now? So all the Bahamians who've gone abroad and don't come back, they should pay some taxes?
Yes,
I feel
But then why
so.
don't y'all put that out there?
feel that, yeah.
All your social media people. That's a good discussion y'all can start.
What you mean, when they come out after how many years?
Increase VAT. Introduce income tax.
Where they are.
Yeah, that's fine.
You choose to go over there. Yeah. But if you're holding a Bahamian, you're holding a Bahamian passport and you give them a flat rate, and that's the way money can come in. You're a citizen.
I think
You have to be a citizen.
that's basically how it is in the US, right?
citizenship.
They use a flat rate if they're a US
Uh-huh.
citizen, they live in another country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not much.
But it's not more, I think it's not a high rate. I don't know.
It's not a high rate.
It's not a high
It's
rate.
not the same as when you live in there.
You're right.
No.
Yeah. You still go through the fire.
But Trump sounds like them all.
Some don't like foreigners, they don't like black people.
No. You don't gotta worry about that. They still come back home. If anything, they need to ask for a boat so they can hurry come home before they get deported. So domicile, this is where a person has a home. A person domiciled in a particular place usually resides there. So nationality, tax law usually determine that based on the person's nationality or citizenship, which may give rise to tax liability. Where a person is domiciled in more than one country, the double tax treaties are an area useful as it confers relief upon the taxpayer on the basis of balancing each claimant's interests. Because that's why you see the government is out now trying to get all of these tax agreements signed. So you'll be able to get some tax relief for the persons who wish to come and stay here.
If we impose the income tax, you're gonna be taxed on your actual income rate, before your deductions and everything.
Yeah, on the group.
Should we put it at what? 2.5%?
What? You keep fighting everything.
How is that gonna work for people who already, like, if you have the average government worker, right?
Who already
Who
passed
have
that
a lower-
TDS song?
they have a-
That's a social issue.
Right, so they have
Realistically.
no, realistically, because if you have
Overspend?
Yeah, so they add that to the SR, then how are they going?
But how do they get the government problem? If
But
you decide you want to get new, hold on, the first time I heard this was some years ago.
That means
What?
somebody will be carrying home nothing.
I get
They're
it.
already carrying on nothing.
But now they can carry home, like, well, at least they would have had $50 before.
Hold on, they carry home
You get
nothing.
numbers into the night.
Hold on, they carry home nothing. But they have a apartment somewhere. Figure it out. But yes, how can I help you?
No, that's what she's getting at. She's
Yeah.
saying if they add that TDS.
It's a change in culture. It has to happen. If you all keep staying in denial, then you all can take your $1 Bahamian dollar and it can be worth 5 cents. Get with it.
Imagine how you get your pay slip and okay, no, you actually owe us.
That was something.
But you have to change your lifestyle. When you're dressed up, you're put on everything all matching. What do you fake is real?
There was something in the news this week where they said that the Bahamian dollar is basically overvalued
Yes.
by what, 15%. So I didn't catch the whole thing. Yeah.
Yes.
So
So you're
they're
living in
trying
an
to come up with a
imaginary
mechanism
That
to
doesn't
drop
make
that so that it
No,
levels off.
that doesn't mean.
Because of the debt. Our debt is high.
Uh-huh.
To pay that debt, you'll have to pay more taxes.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that I don't know how some of these people can make it.
That ain't the government fault.
That ain't the government problem.
I work inside the bank and I see this every day.
Yeah,
I know, because I see people saying.
Oh, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
So I can tell you, that is your problem.
That's your problem, yeah.
Crime.
That's the problem of individuals, of not manage their funds.
Because again, because these things don't happen in the vacuum.
Yeah, but you gotta find a way to balance it all, yeah.
But guess what? They charge you,
Yeah.
you don't even feel it. It's coming up before you even get
Get
it.
it.
You don't even feel it.
So,
Like you never had it.
every
Just
every
don't feel it, and I mean, it's come out.
Exactly.
budget to go, what, to the hairdresser twice a
Yes,
month?
and I
Go down the road.
but you see, that's why I come when we have that homework.
I get it one too.
Yeah, but you won't be getting that anymore.
I work again and nails do every week.
You'll be going to Chinatown to buy yours. Chinatown sells it for $80, then drop that down to $30. Because they can sell it from the back of the car, because they won't be able to pay for the rental space. That's all.
Put it back in,
It's
you know?
Yeah, okay, it's either you use to pay more taxes, or let them devalue.
Because it's no matter what.
Well, pay more taxes on things what people don't really need, like weed.
Big 2D times 25% today.
And they still buy. That will try you, and then you will manage your monies better. That will try you, and then you manage the monies better. And
See,
you'll
some
be
people-
just
some
as
people
much as
need
the baby
it.
needs pampers. No.
Some people need it.
Let's go.
coming in free and they charging you so much.
So how do you determine
See, so
residency
people
of
like, huh?
somebody?
When I ship my hair to my friend in Atlanta, and I tell her, put that in her purse when she comes back.
Listen now, you got the clues, all right? You gotta find them out.
Hey, ladies, we have the right to check your voice and your body.
Oh, God. Listen, I love that hair roll up and no one
That's
one
okay.
brush.
We have the rights to check those big bulky purse like this on the shoulder. We know that where the car parks is being the
I say don't bring your
Y'all have to stop.
One time I come back from away and I had 2 bags. You know, I always say, I don't ever come to carry on, but it's a real
They say when it's afternoon, it's coming on, you know,
I make sure
and heavy in the
I carry
morning.
on the floor. Make sure I carry them, because that's where the clothes was. Make sure as I rest on one of the
We used to that.
I said, please don't
With
let
our
this
own
fall down
trips.
now.
And they go tell mine.
Oh, you always want to go, yeah, please.
I don't do that. I just.
All these politicians, they look up. They don't, and they can afford to. So maybe only making $2.
They don't pay any change.
You know, like,
Most diplomats and countries don't pay.
You could.
That's the way.
It's send me to be a diplomat.
Well, everybody must be a diplomat.
You go be a pap if you want to be one.
So how does the country, how do you know the residency of the
Where's
country?
incorporated?
Where it's incorporated.
so
You got that?
Okay, okay, be fair, right? But how do you answer this question? Tax law usually determines based on the nationality of those individuals to tax liabilities. Rising.
Yeah, give rise to.
So, what do you mean by that?
And what that boils down to including is like
Remember we said,
at the end of the
a
day,
person can be taxed, like your nationality is Bahamian, right? But you may not live here. You may live somewhere else. Okay, so wherever you live, there will be a residency. So what they're saying is that your tax liability may give rise either to where you born, which is your nationality, or where you reside.
when people get,
It depends.
when people get penalized,
I was just looking at it. I
Yeah.
didn't see
we take care
it.
of him when he pull in his bag, they know.
Oh, it won't be like that.
that.
No, it won't be like
Okay,
that.
all right.
Won't be like that.
Okay, because I was kind of looking at it.
You do not,
So,
Yeah.
like, that won't affect like Canadians then because they Canada tax based on residency as opposed to income. So if a Canadian living elsewhere, because they're not in Canada, they're going to be paid charged taxes on.
Yeah, the taxes are high.
So if you live
Why are
in
they so expensive?
you can make up a slot.
They skip healthcare.
Because all of them, he pays good much.
Yeah, they could, no, their taxes are high.
Good much, but they just get a return.
You get a return.
But yeah, they get a return. I can get a return.
My children live there. Can I get a return on their school fee?
Yeah.
How can I go back?
They get it.
They get a return, they get a
How do
return.
they get it?
If apply.
States to US
How long they been here?
2 years.
By now they should know the system.
they know.
I don't think they get, I'm not too sure.
I
if
don't
they get a
think-
license
I don't
check, they get like a
think-
tax
Get
credit.
money,
They get
money.
tax credit.
Gotta get money.
Or they get
Because my son says that this is his first year. He said there are some applications he can fill out. He can get one is $500, another one is $1,000.
So you said they can,
$1,500, and they will send you straight to school because he's a student.
Don't worry, but that Nike, that check.
thank you. Sit down. I need this to turn over to pay the next school
Yeah.
fee.
No, Nike don't get that check.
Yeah, they get it.
No,
They can put the check in
Honestly,
there.
I don't think they probably know Hans because their friend told them they live in they goes to school in Acadia, and their friend goes to school in Toronto, and they was telling them say they just got their tax return, but my children was like, you don't know what to do.
And they've been there for 2 years?
So this is why I'm inquiring if I can get it on the school
My
fee because I was
boy is
wondering.
getting his driver's license and going this week to find his car.
No, I was wondering if it's a different.
You have to learn the system.
You gotta learn.
I was wondering if it's a different, is because they live on campus and the other ones live in house. Doesn't matter, once the school fee is
Your
paid.
children live on campus.
Yeah. Because it's better.
It's more expensive.
It is expensive, but they're really nice. And when they used to live in the US, when friends come over, they tend to give away the food. So I pay for on the campus, where they have meals,
And how old are they?
22 and 20.
Now my son lives in his own house.
Yeah, it's cheaper to live in apartments.
It's cheaper to live in an apartment, but what I'm saying is that living with people, they take advantage of them because they, you know what I mean, kind out and whatever. And like every week they will be calling me and saying, we need money for groceries, we need money for this. Where they just give away everything, you know?
Why don't I actually get off? Why they don't
A
even
boy and a girl.
You get a two-bedroom apartment?
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand
I
that.
wanted them to just be there because it's very comfortable and they don't need to worry about no maid, they don't need to worry about no cooking. They have like a restaurant on the campus where they eat from morning to night, 24 hours and stuff, and safety too. So Acadia is far out, and so I really like the dogs. They're like that, you know. I don't have to worry about the light, I don't have to worry about the water, I won't have to worry about the grocery, I won't have to worry about the safety, I won't have to worry about transportation and all that. Because if they want to go to Walmart, the bus right there takes them there free. If they want to eat, if they want to eat, they don't need a car because it's small. Wherever they go to bus included, free. To Walmart if they want to do something. And particularly for the safety, you know, you can't break in there. This is like a hotel, you know, and they have those things with the whole house or something. You know, so that's why I really when they was living in the U.S. in a family, they lived together. So children will always come over, you know what I mean, and like live off them. And they're so kind and nice. They'll say, yeah, you can have it.
All right, so let's go to the next one. This I was telling you, without regard to where the recipient resides. Remember I told you how Delaware is? That's what that means. To justify this type of taxation, there must be a significant economic connection between the company and the source state. That is how they tax. If no economic connection exists, the company is taxed in the state of its residence. This can be based by business activities or permanent establishment within the source state. So you could have a company that is incorporated in Delaware, doesn't do business within Delaware. The owner can be Italian, and the owner can have business maybe in Spain and maybe in Argentina.
No, I think they dealt with the liquidation.
They want it all the way after liquidation. No. The source rule also applies to individuals. That is, a person must pay tax on income earned within, but not outside the territory of the source state. Consideration of tax relief under double treaty is that an entity is taxed on its worldwide income in the state of its residence. So if you have if you're doing business with another country, and that country and your residential country have a double treaty, then there's only one tax paid. So onshore provisions for anti-tax avoidance. A company may pay taxes on its worldwide taxable profits to the state where it is resident, which is then distributed to its shareholders by dividends. The shareholder may have to pay tax on their own personal income, including the dividend income. The approach to dealing with cross-border payments of investment income has been divided into two ways to facilitate tax collection. Because remember now, when someone has a structure like this, but within this there are assets all over the world, and income is coming from all over the world, you have to find a way to tax these people. So a classical system is a two-tiered taxation, where the company pays corporation tax on its profit, and when it distributes net profits to shareholders, it is taxed in the source country of the shareholder. And this type of system imposes withholding tax. The shareholder receives a net dividend payment insofar as the payment has already suffered corporation tax and withholding tax. So, yeah, they take it out before you get it. No, it's a withholding tax, so they take it out before you get it. Imputation system. Here, a company pays corporation tax on its taxable profits. And when the company distributes profits by way of dividends, it is paid gross. That means they don't take out anything out of it. Dividend income is tax-free to the shareholder. The company pays a higher corporation tax under the imputation system compared to the classical system. So there's another thing that the government has to look at, is this corporation tax. Now they just increase it for banks. But you have to look at it in terms of businesses. Are they paying the right amount of tax based upon their profits? Because you have a lot of little small and middle businesses. Those little small little car repair, all those little places like that. Are you paying the correct amount of taxes on the based on their income?
Should I pay tax to someone who is giving me a receipt and piece of a handwritten receipt? Should I pay that back?
What's that? The 10 number.
Yes, a 10 number. And the TIN number should be displayed.
Yeah, but if they write the TIN number handwritten on the
But you
receipt,
see it,
how
you
do
see it.
Yeah, but how do the government keep a record of that VAT they paying when they could destroy that receipt book?
But you have the receipt. When you look, if you have the receipt, you
No.
could, if you have any concerns, you could actually query that TIN number.
Yeah.
I'm not
So
saying,
you can go
okay.
online, they have all the.
Yeah, no, I'm
They
saying,
don't come from the government, from the VAT officers.
yeah,
They actually go in to inspect the company.
okay.
Based on
Say if-
when they send in their
if the
returns.
certificate there,
Uh-huh.
right, you see in the TIN number on the handwritten receipt, and
Yes.
they say $200 back.
Uh-huh.
I wanna know how
They
the
probably keep
government
record.
would, secure all that back from this establishment if they do.
When they send in the returns, they send in a return.
I could make $10,000 and
Don't
then I
matter.
could send a receipt for.
You send in a return.
Mhm.
Based on that return,
Mhm.
the government then decide we come to do an inspection. All of your receipts and your invoices have to tally up to your return.
You don't think that's still a loophole?
No, no.
Nope.
Because if I said that I paid on my return to you, I brought in $5,000 worth of goods. Because it's one system, they should be able to go into your section and see how much they brought in to verify that. All the system is connected, all.
Now,
Yes? So you can put in your return to say you're paying less tax on your business by saying you brought in less and you made less when you brought in more things through customs.
so that's okay if you, receive a receipt on it?
Yeah, as long as you can see it on there and you have your phone, you could just go right there and you could give you.
She don't even have to see it right there. If they charge her back and she have a query about it,
Yeah.
go to the business license, pay the other back
Yeah.
office and find out if it's not.
And they'll be charged.
I just wanna know if these people paying the government.
Well,
I
they
don't want to be paying them and then.
then you only get away forever.
You can't get away forever. That VAT office, revenue office is aggressive. They are aggressive.
If they see a trend that your returns in one night, couple months of being up there, then it's wrong.
Dropping down
They
letters
come in
and
to audit
coming.
you. They come in to audit you. And they look at them when your receipt book, and when your
Every
book,
day.
or whatever you do.
And if that receipt mistakenly lost it, however, you
Yeah.
get fined for it.
Getting fined.
Because you violate retention records law.
So there's a lot. So the introduction of anti-avoidance legislation was designed to identify gray areas, untaxed earnings. So gray untaxed earnings is where assets are held in offshore accounts that are owned and controlled by the beneficial owners who reside onshore for tax purpose in high tax OECD member states. And those are our clients. When a beneficial owner earns profits offshore and fails to disclose them on their tax returns in accordance with domestic onshore disclosure requirements, they commit the criminal offense of tax evasion rather than lawfully avoiding taxes. Got that? So when I gave you all a good scenario on this, you all know which one is evasion, which one is avoidance, and what should be done. The USA has led the effort to prevent US taxpayers from unlawfully evading US taxes, because they have the QI and then they have FATCA. The QI rules are intended to ensure that US taxpayers disclose the earnings and pay their taxes on the US source bond and dividend income invested through an offshore brokerage account. And that's why you see in 2001 when QI came into force, a lot of the offshore banks got rid of all of their American clients. Just got rid of them. So they don't have to qualify for this rule. FATCA is intended to ensure that U.S. taxpayers disclose the earnings of and pay their taxes on their global income from all non-U.S. worldwide sources. And so when FATCA came into force in 2013, you see a lot of Americans came again to close their accounts. Close their accounts and then they flew south. Tax evasion occurs when the U.S. account holder or the beneficial owner of the account that holds non-US securities fail to disclose the corporate tax assets and their earnings to the IRS. So this means that US nationals who invest by using the services of a non-US foreign financial institution, such as an offshore banking in the Bahamas or trust company, must meet the US compliance requirements under either the QI rules or FATCA. So you don't get away from paying the IRS. No, you don't. No, my mind is supposed to look for that form, IMY form.
Oh, the IMY form?
Yeah.
And I've been in the office, I could have bring that.
You gotta, yeah.
I forget that.
Yeah. So I gave you all the forms last week, okay? Did you have a look at them? You did? Did you look at the form? No. Yes.
I'm just going to the side of there, I'm trying to Christine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, you need to get some forms too for you all to fill out.
I don't know what that sounds to this, but they went out, but.
What?
You think they have a time frame that they can prosecute you? The
For what?
IRS?
For these?
No, tax.
For taxes?
Yeah.
No.
You don't pay your tax.
No, I
They
don't think
can
that's
come on.
anytime.
20
Anytime.
years later,
Anytime.
even if I 90.
Anytime. Yeah, that's 90 years. You don't know what they taxes.
You don't avoid nothing or that you want to build us with.
Yes.
No matter how you are, that's sad, whatever.
That's not sad. That's how our laws will have to change too. The same way. What I notice Bahamians do to avoid paying taxes is they just leave the bills and drop dead. Yeah. And so yes, when you heard yes, you inherited the house, and then when you look here with real property tax, it's like, what? Yeah.
You can purchase a house that tax outstanding, real property tax.
And you willing to pay for it.
Okay, you have to pay.
You have to pay for it.
Ms. Archer,
Who is selling it?
what about those persons who like on the family island, right? They just have a business, right? But their business stuff is not coming from the United States to put their returns in, right? And they buying stuff, say from Nassau, and selling it over on the island. And they charge you back. How would government track that? Say take for example blocks, right?
Okay, what they can do is they can register with the revenue companies in order to get that tax deducted.
Okay. So the business can get it deducted.
Yeah.
But suppose they charge it to you, take for example.
They can't charge you. They can increase their prices,
Okay,
but they
okay,
can't charge you back.
okay. So if I go to, Island, Arizona, with the make blocks, and I wanna build a house, and I know that blocks, they import that block from Nassau, right? And I go and they charge me, if I see they charge me back on that, can I question them?
But shouldn't be charging you back,
I'm just saying,
because they don't pay back.
but maybe they're not knowledgeable of that.
Because all they have to do is just increase their price.
I mean, saying that they pay, I'm charging you back 90% of all the building supplies.
No, because I don't think they pay back on the family islands.
Huh?
Some of them do.
Yeah.
They register.
Yeah.
As long as they
Who make
meet the threshold, right? But I'm saying, they say for other businesses too, it's best for you to be registered so you can get tax credits.
But I was just wondering about that, because I know
You
like.
could be registered, so you can get tax credit in terms of when you get your supplies in.
Because I know a lot of places like on the island, you know something? They they will get things from like from the natural, the turn of themselves, you know, and then they will still put back on it. But I have to look into that whenever I
person blocks it.
Yeah, because to put VAT on it, you have to, for you to actually put on the receipt, VAT, you have to have a license.
I mean, for the block that is coming right from Nassau, I know you might have the license when you can charge the VAT for the other stuff. But I'm saying, say for the building materials that you know that will come from the US, right? Because you have to pay the VAT on that. So you put in the VAT to me, right? But I'm saying, take for example, stuff that's made in Nassau and just go to the island to sell over like this.
But now don't forget how, because this is a consumption tax, the tax runs from the time the item is landed.
You saying something?
That's how the VAT runs.
No, I don't know.
She's talking to me.
No, tax runs from the time the item is landed.
Okay.
So even though they're buying it from Nassau, even Nassau already paid VAT.
Right.
So that VAT goes with the item.
So then they will still charge you
Yeah,
VAT? So they can't